Money is running out. Financial stress is forcing retirees to go back to work. This may be one of the stupidest articles I've ever read, and I read a lot of stupid articles. Basically, most things that come from the media are just freaking mind-bogglingly stupid, and this is one of them. Let's see. So this is Dateline today, actually, from NBC News. Money is running out. Financial stress drives retirees back to work. There are people that might retire, try that for a little while, but now the money's running out. And they're looking at the retirement savings and saying there's not enough there, says one expert. It's from Jean Lee. I could not find anything about old Jean there, like what's her background or anything. But when we read this, it's just left-wing tripe. It's sad, actually. After more than a decade, Greg Boulere went back to work in 2020. He's 69. He was a truck driver for about 30 years, spending long hours on the road away from his family. His body started to suffer the consequences of years on the road, and he began to worry that the continuous back pain and aches would worsen. Completely agree with that. Being a truck driver, long-haul driver is tough, man. Tough, 100%. So he went back to school and got an associate's degree in management and IT in 2007, but then he could only find temporary work, and so he retired in 2008. All right? He started writing books, but they made no money, and he had retirement savings, and he started collecting Social Security at 59. How is he collecting Social Security at 59? Well, I assume it's Social Security disability, but they don't say. They just leave us to assume that you can file at 59, and we know you can't. So we don't know what's going on here. He collected at 59. We got to assume it's SSDI. I imagine it's not SSI, Supplemental Security Income, it's SSDI, I presume. But they just say he collected Social Security at 59. What's that about? But then he and his wife bought a house. Isn't that interesting? And so check this out. When he lived in an apartment, we were doing fine because we could easily afford it, but every year the rent would go up, he says. And he said, I woke up one day and said, these people can tell us to leave. And the next hour we'd have no place to go. So they bought a house with their life savings, which led to a fear of losing house because the mortgage payments were a challenge. So, look, at some point you got to take responsibility, man. You know what happened here is they got big eyes. They said, oh my goodness, we can afford that because some mortgage brokers said, for an extra $100,000, look at this. So they spent their life savings to put on a house, but they still had to take a mortgage on it. A horrible financial move, man. A horrible financial move. So now they have the same thing, probably the same rent as their apartment, and the mortgage payment is probably higher than their apartment rent was. Plus, they have no savings either. It's because they got big eyes on buying a house. They want that nice house in the suburbs. I hate to say it, that's your fault. That's your fault. It's not the system's fault. It's your fault. You wrote a check your butt couldn't cash is what happened here. So yeah, you are going to get financial stress if you buy a house you can't afford. All right. So then he took a clerical job just last month because he needs some money coming in. All right. And then Nora Down Eisenhower, from the executive director of the Philadelphia Mayor's Commission of Aging, who I just looked up, by the way, big lip, says retirement doesn't mean what it used to, says Nora Down. Higher rent, higher food prices, and longer lifespans often lead to financial challenges for many America, leading to post-American retirement job searches. Many people have returned. More people have returned to work after retirement with a steady uptick that happened last few months. Isn't that interesting? But then we're going to go down here. We're going to say one guy right here, this guy right here. And I'm going to come back around because I want to share with you. This is such a freaking fraud article. It pisses me off, pardon my French. Bob Krasner retired in March from his job as a BART station agent in the San Francisco Bay. But less than a year of retirement, he went back to work, working for an independent transportation network, which drives seniors, a driving service for seniors. He delivers meals for people, and while a major factor in his decision to turn to work was he was bored to tears and missing regular interaction. He also said the extra earning grocery money would help to maintain his savings. So he's not going back because money is running out. He's going back because he was bored. And yet they try to throw it all in one lump sum as if all these people are going back because they're running out of money. And he says, we can make it on my pension and Social Security and my wife's Social Security and salary, but going back to work gives us that freedom of not having to look at the price tag of everything we buy. That's a whole lot different than old Greg Boulere, who bought a house he couldn't afford. That's just such a fraud. Unretiring to bridge the gaps left by retirement income and savings is not uncommon, says some lady from the AARP. There are people that might retire, try for a little bit, but now their money has run out. That's not what happened to this guy. This guy, the money did not run out. You got two people in your example. One did not run out of money. They got two Social Securities, a pension, and his wife's salary. And this is what freaking takes me off. Financial need is especially high among low-income workers and people of color, especially black with the capitalized, and Latinos, at least they're not saying Latinx, who after retirement might not be able to make ends meet with just Social Security savings, because if you're black and Latino, you can't make ends meet on Social Security savings, but if you're white, you can. On top of that, big life events, buying a house. Maybe you should have thought about buying a house first. And here we go. Here's this lady right here from, who said this right here? All right, low income and minority populations. I love how they throw low income and minorities as if you're a minority, you're inherently low income. It's freaking racist. Oh, this is Aguila, who works as an economist right here from, let's see, Aguila was right here. University of Southern California Sol Price School of Public Policy. She's an economist and associate professor. You can't, economists, they're freaking just not that bright. I'm sorry. So here's an economist, and she's saying low income and minority populations, that's inherently racist, don't reach retirement within the same conditions as those of higher income. Higher income people have access to not only Social Security, but also to private pensions and other resources. Did you know that minorities and low income people don't have access to private pensions and other resources? Did you know that? Because I was not aware. I didn't realize that the IRC, Internal Revenue Code, says low-income people, you don't get pensions and other resources, just high-income people. Come on in. The door's open for you high-income people. But you low-income people, sorry. This freaking idiot, man. These are the people who are teaching your kids. And planning for the future, this guy right here, for the BART, this guy right here, the Bay Area Rapid Transit, says, is a wise move for anyone when unexpected misfortune can happen. His children and grandchildren regularly gather over the holidays at the house he and his wife own. He doesn't want to lose what he has now. Do I see a time where I'll no longer be able to maintain my own house? It could happen. That part of the future is kind of nebulous, you know. Age catches up with everyone, even though we think we don't want to admit or think about it. So he's not running out of money, man. I mean, that's just freaking idiotic. But let's just keep going here because I want to show you here. We talked about this. In October, the retirement unemployment rate, the unretirement rate, what the hell is that, was 2.6%. I don't know what the unretirement rate is. It's an upward trajectory according to analysis from CPS. Bunker says analysis does not look in the reasons for the increase of people unretiring. Okay, that's what it is. So just saying people who had before retired and now are not. So they say right here, Bunker said his analysis does not look into the reason why people unretire. And survey data show that the pandemic job loss and more viable market might be a factor. But other experts say the uptick driven partly by early pandemic job loss might also be caused by financial need among older Americans. We got the nonprofit Justice for Aging, Tracy Gogginger, said that many seniors who are not in poverty on paper might be struggling, especially if they find themselves in need of healthcare or support services. Yeah, I think older people are kind of forgotten sometimes, and some have to figure out to use the service they didn't have to use before. That could be a drain on their income. Yeah, even if people have access to pensions and other resources, their savings aren't always enough to make it 30 years in retirement. The national median rent increase went up by 11.4% in 2021. Yeah, exactly. There you go. Thanks, Sniffy Joe. Let's see. And then we got the Part B premiums and Medicare Part B going up from 150 to 170. Exactly. When savings are enough, SSI, supplemental security income, and Social Security aren't enough for most low income people. See, we don't know that to be true. We don't, because we know for a fact transfer payments aren't included in your gross income when it comes to reporting this current population study, CPS. Transfer payments are not in there. All the studies in the world don't show Section 8 Medicare transfer payments, food stamps, heating assistance. None of that shows up on that. Isn't it interesting? So anyway, the whole thing is just based on a fraud here. We got two people, one of which ran out of money because he freaking bought a house he should never have bought. Well, why would he not do a reverse mortgage? Has anyone talked to him about a reverse mortgage? He would be the perfect candidate for a reverse mortgage. But no, because they're evil. They're scams, says Dave Ramsey and others. Dude, if you're thinking you're worried about running out of money because you got a big fat mortgage payment that you can't afford, the reverse mortgage is your only option. If you have enough equity to qualify, you might not. In that case, you better sell your house. This isn't rocket science. Yeah, frustrates me no end. And then the other guy, Bob Krasner, he's got a pension, Social Security, his wife got Social Security and a salary. They're doing just fine in a house they own. Yeah, don't fall for the freaking propaganda. All right, we'll see you.